Action.
Generous.
Determined.
Humility.
Inspirational.
Empathy.
No try.
Caring.
Catalyst.
Kind-hearted.
Passionate.
Generous.
Authentic.
Calm. Influencer. Heart.
Authenticity.
Supportive.
Resilience.
Honesty.
Genuine.
Collaborator. Execute.
Authenticity.
Bold.
Serving.
Teamwork.
Compassionately innovative.
Dedicated.
Good afternoon. I'm Lori Becker, president and publisher of the Nashville Business Journal, and I'm so excited to welcome you to the 2020 Most Admired CEOs Awards. We're here today to celebrate and recognize the men and women that rise to the occasion and lead their teams through successful times and challenging ones. It's integrity, grit, and promising plans for the future that make these leaders stand out among their peers. These CEOs have earned the respect of their employees and colleagues, using their influence to bring about positive change and growth in Nashville's business community. We're excited to introduce you to today's honorees, including the 2020 Lifetime Achievement winner, noted entrepreneur Beth Chase, former chief of Ankara Consulting Group. Our editor-in-chief, Eric Snyder, had the opportunity to interview Beth about her career, what being a leader looks like in 2020, and much more. We look forward to sharing that with you later in today's program. But first, I'd like to thank our partners for today's event. We're grateful that you've joined us to help celebrate these incredible leaders and share their stories. Thank you to gold sponsors, Giratana and Stites and Harbison. Let's hear from Giratana now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shari Lewis, Chief Operating Officer with Giratana Management. On behalf of our team at 505, we salute all of the most admired CEOs being honored today. The dedication you have for your teams, to driving our local economy, and contributing to the community are obvious and truly inspiring, especially during these challenging times. Like the views at 505, you're one of a kind, and the long-reaching effects of your contributions are never-ending. Congratulations to all of you on a well-deserved recognition.
And next, we have a message from Stites and Harbison.
Good afternoon. I am Robert Connolly, chairman of Stites and Harbison. Stites and Harbison is a full-service law firm with 3 offices in Tennessee, in Nashville, Franklin, and Memphis, and 10 across the Southeast region. The Nashville office opened in 2001 when Stites and Harbison teamed with the highly respected Nashville firm of Ferris, Warfield, and Kennedy. Stites has proudly sponsored this prestigious event since 2014, and we are so pleased to be sponsoring it again this year. Congratulations to this year's award recipients. What a true honor to be named a Most Admired CEO by the Nashville business community. Suffice it to say, today's recognition is a testament to your career accomplishments and the respect you have garnered from so many. As a trailblazer, you have provided an inspirational vision, leadership, and hope to the professionals around you. Today, we all gather to celebrate you. I only wish we could be together to congratulate you in person. Stites and Harbison collaborated with one of our clients, Woodford Reserve, to create an inscribed bourbon bottle. Each honoree will receive a personalized bottle of this unique gift. Again, on behalf of Stites and Harbison, my sincerest congratulations.
We'd also like to thank our video partner, KGV Studios, and our gift sponsor, Implement Now. Please welcome Implement Now CEO, Austin Castleman.
Hi, I'm Austin Castleman, CEO of Implement Now. Congratulations on your Nashville Business Journal 2020 Most Admired CEO Award. I love how this was voted on by other CEOs and that you rose to the top in this peer category. Enjoy your custom curated gift from Implement Now, and if there's anything we can help you with in the future, please let us know.
Thank you, Austin. And finally, thank you to our celebration sponsors, whose names you can see on the screen. It is part of the mission of the Nashville Business Journal to help you build connections. We bring together people in the business community to create new relationships and gather fresh ideas and information you need to grow your business. You can get the latest business news through several avenues: our free daily newsletters, our weekly print edition, and by following us on social media, all of which have growing audiences. This is our last awards program of the year, but we are well into planning for 2021. Join us in January for a look at what the business community should expect to see in 2021 at our new Tennessee Economic Outlook event. Also in January, we'll host a discussion on the future of cities, featuring a keynote address from renowned urbanist Richard Florida. We have many more virtual events in the pipeline for 2021, so be sure to subscribe to our events newsletter and check out our event page on our website, NashvilleBusinessJournal.com, to stay up to date on what's coming next. As we prepare to recognize our 2020 Most Admired CEOs, we feel it is important to also pay tribute to the local CEOs who we sadly lost in 2020. This year, we mourn the death of 4 titans of Nashville business who each made a lasting impact on their industries and on our community. Former President and CEO of American Constructors, Harold Brewer. Entrepreneur and former executive at HCA Healthcare, Sam Howard. Co-founder and CEO of Solomon Builders, Ty Osman. And real estate businessman and founder of the Parks Companies, Joe Parks Sr. To help us recognize and remember these remarkable leaders, we sought out colleagues and friends who knew them best to share a few words. Please enjoy this video.
Our company's motto is simply do the right thing. Oftentimes we encounter gray areas and we have to ask ourselves, what do we think the right thing to do is? Harold, for almost 40 years at American Constructors, embodied that motto. Harold was the same person professionally that he was personally. There was no switching it on or off. What you saw was what you got. And what you got was a person who was very genuine, who was good-hearted, and was passionate about building. I admired that Harold had an unwavering commitment to making sure that each client was satisfied at the end of our projects. And more than that, he wanted to make sure that we exceeded their expectations. He had a calm and very deliberate approach to everything, and it served to really ground all of us because we wouldn't get caught up in the emotion. He was just very thoughtful in everything he did. He also was passionate about building with integrity and always taking the high road on every decision. So now we can just as easily ask ourselves, what would Harold do? Because that is going to be the right thing. We still miss Harold every day. We know that he would be proud, though, that we're carrying on. We're building in the same way that he built, with integrity and doing the best we can on every project. And we think that would make him happy.
I hear the name Sam Howard. I think in terms of a man of faith. Think about a man who loved his family, so very much a family man. I also think about a man who's a business magnate, a conglomerate owner, if you will. And then I think about a man who gave back to his community and really felt that philanthropy was very important. And then we all know Sam as a businessman. We knew Sam from 92Q. My brother first told me when I first moved to Nashville that a Black man owned the radio station. So that was exciting to me. Little did I know that at a later time, I'd actually have the opportunity to meet Sam and essentially become a friend of Sam's. Although I'm his junior, he just treated me with a lot of respect. And so I really appreciate that. And I also think about his additional philanthropy and the time that he spent with young business people. Would meet Sam at 7 a.m., I think, at Shoney's, and learn from him about operating and running a business. And so, you know, as I think about Sam, I think again about all those things that he's done and the success, not just the success that he had, but the success that others have had because of him. You know, the legacy of Sam Howard is long. It'll be here long after I'm gone and long after any of you all are gone. But know that Sam Howard was a multi-dimensional gentleman and someone that I sorely miss, and many others do as well.
My name is Michael Locker, and I'm honored to give a quick remembrance of Ty Osmond, who I've always said is who I want to be when I grow up. Ty was not only an outstanding businessman, he was an amazing husband and father, and just so generous with his time and resources to our community. He was one of the busiest people I know, but he was able to balance it all very well. And when you were with him, you never felt like he was in a hurry or had somewhere else to be. The time I was able to spend with him, I usually was trying to ask questions about how to be a better businessman and husband and father. And he had so much wisdom. And, unfortunately, when he passed away at an early age, I told my wife, I said, I didn't feel like Ty or his family had any regrets. He was not a person that was always wishing for the future, saying, hey, I'll do this when I have more time, or I'll do this. He did that along the way and lived his life with a focus on his faith and giving back. And he just was such a good steward of the time he was given. And I hated that we lost him so early, just because I know that the Lord had great plans for him, but I know he's doing great things in heaven. And I know that the time and impact he had on people like me, we can continue to honor his name moving forward. And just so sad we lost him, but know that his life on earth, he stood for what matters. And I could only hope to accomplish half of what he did while he was here.
He's an easy guy to talk about.
So I admired his guts more than anything else, because when he started the business, he started with almost no money, started with a partner. We were all in school. I didn't understand what that meant at the time until I got to be his age and I had kids in school, and stood back and went, that was just crazy. Why would you do that? But he really had the confidence that he could make it, and he did.
What I admired most about Dad was the fact that he did not push any of us into joining the company. He let us grow through school, through working during the summers and making our own decisions. And we all fortunately chose to work under his wings, and it was worth every minute of it. And I think what I admire most about him was his allegiance to honesty and fairness. He was all about doing the right thing, no matter what. And a lot of people say that, but he did it. And there were lots of times where he did the right thing, even though it jeopardized the survival of the company, but he was all about always doing the right thing. The legacy that he has left is the determination to make something out of himself. Our history goes back, really predates him, and he started his vision for this company when his dad passed away when he was a teenager. And so that was his lifelong dream, was to build something that he could pass on to his children. And we got the opportunity to carry that baton and are getting the opportunity to pass it on again.
It's now time to hear from our 2020 Most Admired CEOs. We asked this group of executives some questions about leadership, preparing for the future, and navigating uncertain times. We'll share some of their answers with you today with a few short videos so you can get to know the honorees better. Enjoy!
Yeah, the habit I'd like to most retain is the best use of my time in not being distracted. I think from working from home during the pandemic, I think I've found that we get more productive as we get less distractions. So I hope to continue that when I return to my office and have more time and more productive time.
So one of the silver linings of the pandemic has been that I've changed how I handle conference calls. I do pretty much all of them while walking around my neighborhood, and ultimately end up walking about 10 to 12 miles a day.
Well, the habit that I've picked up during the pandemic is to take time off. And that's something that I plan to continue to do. It has been helpful and refreshing and actually made me better, just taking a little bit of time off even every week to relax and refresh.
The habit that I've picked up during the pandemic that I am planning on continuing is being more focused about my time working at home. Because I have a large company with lots of locations, I did not realize how distracted I got being in the offices. But during the pandemic, when I was working from home and 100% focused on keeping the doors open, I just decided that I didn't see as many squirrels and could work and get in flow much easier.
The best habit is to stop handshaking. I never have been a fan of that to begin with, especially when you're eating and someone comes up and this Southern tradition of give me an old-fashioned handshake. So I love that. That's one thing I think a lot of us now are adhering to.
One habit I've picked up during COVID that I will definitely continue is dinner with our families. Between travel and frankly just working later than I should, there were too many nights that we didn't have dinner as a family, and I think that's something that I will certainly change for the better going forward.
I've transitioned my shopping from in-person to online ordering, and I plan to continue to do so post-pandemic.
I've become much more of a scenario planner because of the pandemic. Brookdale's extensive scenario planning, combined with rapid responses to evolving business conditions, have allowed us to transform so that we continue to meet the needs of our residents and patients, even in these extraordinary times.
We're preparing for 2021 with a Pandemic Panther program of marketing. And we wanted to label it PPP so to tie into what's happening in the business community. But we are really focused on how to move ourselves forward throughout this year to prepare ourselves to be the guy in the lobby when the client calls us next year.
As we consider how we're going to prepare our company for 2021, we want to make sure we capture these lessons of 2020 first. They came at a very high cost. I really do believe that they've positioned us to be able to provide a better professional adventure internally than we've ever been able to provide before. So we're going to do an offsite in a couple of weeks to talk about the 10 lessons that we never want to forget in 2020 and to apply those in 2021 and beyond.
2020 taught me that I needed to be more flexible and open-minded with my business model. 2 of my locations actually completely changed their business model and became full-service salons, and I got rid of my office in one of the locations and turned it into a spray tan and waxing room. And so for 2021, I'm looking forward at really building on those new services, and I just think it's exciting, really, and it never would have happened without 2020 taking that away from me.
What am I doing to prepare my business for 2021? Well, for starters, we're going to have our office back, which was hit by the tornado. And we're all going to get together. We're a close-knit company, and we've got team members that I've never even met in person. And so it's really going to be about togetherness and fellowship and bonding and vaccinations.
Like so many companies, all we do right now is plan. For us, it's slightly different because our whole business is about bringing people together en masse. So we probably have 15 different contingency plans of what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it. And most importantly, we're planning to make people feel safe so they can come back out and be the passion they are behind our team.
We're trying to use the challenges of 2020 as opportunity for 2021 and beyond. We're challenging ourselves to rethink and reimagine every part of our business. How can we impact our community better? How can we make better content? How can we serve our fans and our partners better? And I'm confident we're going to look back on 2020 as a springboard for success in 2021 and beyond.
Thank you all for sharing. We have one more batch of videos, but first, I want to recognize everyone who made this year's class of Most Admired CEOs. Let's meet our honorees. What an impressive group of local leaders. You can learn more about each honoree and how they are leading their companies through this year's highs and lows in our special section that publishes this Friday, December 11th. And now, please enjoy this second round of insights from our 2020 honorees.
I think the thing that surprised me the most was the ability of the team and myself to stay focused on the long game. In public education, it's very easy to get distracted and in the middle of a global pandemic when the needs were so immediate. But ultimately, we kept our eye on the long ball, which is identifying and dismantling inequities that affect too many of our kids. And I was just really proud of the team for doing that.
So we've really diversified our offerings in our portfolio, from adding products to marketing software, also doing a couple different divisions. And I think the biggest thing we've done is we've added great people that maybe found themselves furloughed or laid off during COVID.
What surprised me most about myself during these uncertain times is that I realized that I've been adequately prepared for this. From the training that I obtained while in the military, to the information that I learned while participating in the executive leadership program at Georgetown University, to the experience of being a management consultant. I've learned a lot of good information and valuable lessons that have made me the person that I am today.
I think I've surprised myself a little bit by maybe through maturity, becoming more empathetic to people and trying to understand better how everyone has had to try to cope with and deal with their anxieties and their concerns through these difficult times.
So I've been working a long time, and in the way I work, you go to the office, you work, you come home. Might take work home with you, but this remote working thing, I'd never even considered it. So what has surprised me is that during COVID, how easily I've adapted to working remotely and leading a team remotely. We will not go back full in the office, even after all this is over. We will take what we've learned from this time about how productive we can be at home and move forward with that into the next normal.
Nothing could have prepared us for what we faced in 2020. One of the biggest challenges that we have is our ability to really connect to our customers in a digital way, in a virtual way, which has been new for us because our business has always been focused on face-to-face, building relationships, building trust. But the one thing that inspires us every single day when we come in, the work we do saves lives.
I have always been somewhat of a people pleaser, and that has really bled over into my leadership style and how I run the company. And I've often made decisions based on group consensus. Well, during the pandemic, I've realized that I can be a wartime CEO and a wartime leader. And I actually do have a lot of faith in myself and in my decisions. So what has surprised me is my trust in my ability to lead my company.
A friend of mine once said, vulnerability is the currency of leadership. The ability to be vulnerable with other human beings has helped me grow as a leader. One way that I do that is through notes of appreciation. I set a goal every year to write about 800 or so notes of appreciation, and then I track it all throughout the year, both to my team members and this to other human beings. And the more vulnerable I can be in those notes seems to bring out that exact same experience for other people. So vulnerability is the currency of leadership.
The best leadership advice I've ever gotten was actually not advice, but it was by watching my old boss, Quincy Jones, in action. He often put people in roles that they weren't quite ready for, but he knew that they would be. And that engenders a lot of trust between employee and employer. And amazing things happen when you feel like your boss has confidence in you. And I really do try to do that with my team in order to help them grow.
You know, the best leadership lesson I've ever received has been to basically get the smartest and brightest and mission-driven people around me in the right spots and basically give them the tools to do their job and then let them do their jobs. I've always found that having really dedicated, sharp people makes a big difference in everything I do.
The best leadership lesson I ever got was I worked at Cheeseburger Charlie's when I was 20 years old, and I tried to close the store 5 minutes early and actually turned a customer away at about 7:56, closing at 8 o'clock. The owner came into the store, and rather than firing me, he decided to take 30 minutes of his time to talk to me about life lessons, leadership lessons, his business, how important the customer was. And it really changed the course and trajectory of my life, just having someone lean into me at an early age like that.
The best piece of advice I've received was to invest in people, to invest in the growth of individuals and invest in the growth of teams. When you have a team working collectively, it really drives performance and then improves on the bottom line of the organization.
One of the best leadership lessons I learned from a former coach and CEO was after we talked about succession planning, he reminded me that if you invest in ordinary people, you can get extraordinary results.
The best leadership lesson that I have ever received was really from my mom and dad. They were both school principals. My father was also in the military, and that is to lead from the front. I never ask a staff member to do something that I would not do myself.
There's a lot of advice out there. I think the best advice I ever received, someone once told me that Abraham Lincoln once said that the highest level of leadership is irrelevance. And I think that's right. Our job as leaders really is to set the vision, set the strategy, and then build the teams and get out of the way. So the highest compliment you can give me maybe as a leader is that I'm irrelevant.
Congratulations to all of this year's winners. Keep up the good work in 2021 so we can celebrate you again next year. It's now time for our fireside chat with this year's Lifetime Achievement honoree, Beth Chase. Beth is one of Nashville's most prominent entrepreneurs. She is the board chairwoman of the Nashville Entrepreneur Center and holds a seat on the board of Ingram Industries. In October of this year, Beth announced she would be stepping down from her leadership role with Ankara Consulting Group, the company she founded in 2005. Then known as C3 Consulting, Beth scaled the business to a point that earned the title of Nashville's largest management consulting firm and one of the city's largest women-owned businesses. In 2018, Beth sold C3 to Ankara and remained an integral member of the leadership team until announcing her retirement. Don't think that this move means she'll be slowing down anytime soon. We'll hear about Beth's future plans next. But first, there are some people who want to share a message of congratulations to Beth and her significant career. Please enjoy this video.
Nashville is a place where business comes to be birthed, where entrepreneurship is like celebrity or being a rock star. And a person like Beth being here makes her deserving of this award.
Beth Chase is deserving of the Lifetime Achievement Award because she has done so much. First, she started and grown businesses. She's employed people and helped them along the way. And second, she's also taken the time to give back to our community.
Beth really serves as an icon for not only the Nashville business community, but all of us in healthcare and consulting across the industry.
Beth's very civically minded. She has a long list of accolades of things she's done for our city. She blazed a trail for women entrepreneurs that is a big trail to follow.
When I think about the work that Beth has done, the number of people that she's impacted in her professional life, starting two very successful businesses, and then you think about the work that she has done in the community, we will feel that impact for years to come.
I've actually known Beth since we were in middle school. And what I remember about Beth then was she was so calm, she was very nice, she was encouraging, and she was wicked smart. Maybe even almost 50 years later, I actually think the same.
Beth shows up with her whole self. You get her experience, you get her passion, you get her strength, you get her weaknesses.
I find Beth to be thoughtful and strategic, but she's also very street smart. Beth understands that businesses work through relationships, and she's very good at forging and building relationships with other leaders around the city.
Not only did she lead C3 Consulting, but then also worked as a leader in Ankara Consulting, but also someone who was a trusted advisor to our company as we went through both challenge and opportunities over many years.
I had a chance to experience her leadership at one of those breakout sessions where you come to talk about what you want to plan to do. I love that she can look at a situation and say, well, this is what I see in that. And it gives you an aha moment.
She has spent such an incredible investment of time in me, helping me to grow, to think differently, to learn how to debate well. All of these things have made me a better professional.
When you enter a space with Beth Chase, you immediately have a sense of understanding that she sees you. I just want her to know that the way that she sees others, someone else has also seen her.
One of the things that Beth has done to inspire me is to remind me that clients come first. When you do that and you provide great service and you demonstrate to them that you care about their success, you're successful and they're successful.
Beth and I were in Leadership Nashville together. I enjoyed her conversations and her thoughts as she shared with the group of how we can make our city better. And then the following year, she went on to lead our class's commitment for the next class coming in. She's paying it forward by helping young startups through the Entrepreneur Center realize their vision and see their dreams come true as well.
I believe someone who will give their gifts and talents over to the growth of an entrepreneur is unselfish. Having a person like her say, these are my experiences, this is what I've done. You can take these things and use them for your benefit. That has been the driving force of what I've used becoming and establishing myself as a leader here in Nashville, is to tell people my journey. I'm just so grateful for that example.
Beth, we're all really proud of what you've done in the city and for yourself.
It is my honor to be able to work alongside of you, and it is my blessing to be your friend. Much deserved recognition. Congrats again.
You've had a tremendous impact on me and so many of my colleagues, and I'm so grateful to see you recognized for that contribution.
Thank you, Beth, for your tremendous support of our company, and thank you for the inspiration you've provided us all with your career and all the outstanding work you've done in the community and beyond.
One day when my grandchildren walk into a room, they'll be able to say that my grandmother was Mignon Francois, and that mattered for something. And that is because of people like you who lent your gift so that I could know that I could make it too.
Congratulations on being recognized by the Nashville Business Journal for your leadership as the CEO. And most of all, I'm very grateful for your friendship.
And now, without further ado, please welcome Beth Chase and NBJ Editor-in-Chief Eric Snyder. Over to you, Eric.
Thank you. I'm joined now by the woman of the hour, Lifetime Achievement honoree Beth Chase. Among other things, she is, of course, the founder of C3 Consulting, which she sold 2 years ago to Anchor. She retired from Anchor earlier this year. Beth, thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you for having me today.
I want to start just by asking how you and your family are doing so far into a very wild 2020.
Well, we're doing fine. We have had COVID cases in our family, and for the most part, has come out the other side healthy, and so we're fortunate for that. We almost have herd immunity in our family at this point, which makes it a little safer to get together for Thanksgiving. But we're doing well. Thank you for asking.
Glad to hear that. Whether it's been books, whether it's been TV shows, what have you been binging this year?
Well, I've been binging a lot of walks at Radnor and Percy Warner Park. So that's been a great binge, spending time with family and friends that I didn't have time for before. So that's been great. We've been watching some Netflix series, currently watching The Undoing, but we've watched a whole bunch of them. For a while there, I binged on some podcasts too, some true crime podcasts, and that was great at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah, nice distraction there early on, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And the good thing about TV shows to binge, there's always another one. There's always more.
Exactly.
It seems safe to say that all of us will be changed by 2020 in some form, whether that's big, whether that's small. How will you have been changed by this year?
You know, I think it's really seeing the humanness in everyone's lives as we're working together, being able to really get to know the team differently, the people that you're working with differently, seeing the dogs in the family, and really being invited into their homes. I think that definitely changed me. And in some respects, deepened relationships. At the same time, you're feeling isolated. So I think that's definitely one thing that changed this year.
I definitely feel like some teams across Nashville have been strengthened this year, kind of just being in the trenches, for lack of a phrase.
Yes, I think that's right. I think, even though you're more alone at home, you do become closer as you're working through crises together and pivoting the business and working on the uncertainties of the future. I definitely think that's the case.
I also mentioned this idea too of kind of getting changed in small ways. And I've noticed in my house that our pantry has literally changed to the point where I now require garlic stuffed olives to be in our house. Have you noticed anything similar? Any of those kind of weird kind of just quirks that you've kind of fallen into?
Definitely been batching food more. I've got these little egg bites that I try to make instead of buying them at Starbucks every day. So we batch up those, and we'll batch up other food, which has been a real change during COVID, and that's been kind of fun. I've honed my chef skills for sure.
Absolutely. When things are back to normal, which for now I'll define when you can go do something without having to do like a cost benefit analysis. Where will you go and what will you do?
I definitely think that my husband and I will travel more. And right now it will probably be just in the US, but traveling more and spending time away from home since we have spent so much time in our home this year. That's number one on the list, and seeing family, especially our parents.
You're at the beach now in North Carolina as we speak. Where might you head first?
After being at the beach?
What's next?
Probably California, Arizona, out west somewhere for sure.
Warm.
Warm. Somewhere warm this winter would be very nice. I'm not sure that's going to be the case. It might be later next year.
Sure. In C3, you built a business that was built around providing advice on, I'm going to read a phrase that I came across, navigating critical inflection points, which is certainly one way to describe 2020.
Yes.
I'm wondering, with that in mind, what are things that leaders can and should be prioritizing right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So many businesses and industries have navigated incredible inflection points this year. And so I think the biggest thing, and businesses are doing this and leaders are doing this now, but it's not something that will stop in 2020. And that is really doing continuous scenario planning. Looking at the business, looking at the industry, looking at customer trends, looking at health trends, and creating a wide variety of scenarios and what could happen in a business, and then sensing those trends, those really broader set of trends than perhaps businesses had looked at before, and staying in constant touch with those to be able to predict the future, and then do more scenario planning. So that's really something that's very much changed. Businesses have always done scenario planning, but today there's a broader mix of that and a more continuous look at that than in the past.
Also seems like something that companies could continue to draw on even after this experience once they've kind of worked those muscles.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I would say is one thing that COVID and this pandemic has taught businesses is that you can change quickly. And so I think that businesses will continue to harness that learning and that lesson learned from this year to really change faster and faster in the future, to do the right things to pivot the business to stay competitive. So that's something that will stick with businesses, I believe.
I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit to this idea of being able to pivot quickly, to adapt with the times rapidly, while also not burning yourself out. I'm wondering, it just is, I'm sure there's not, but what's some advice? What's the trick to being able to strike that balance?
Yeah, I think that leaders have to, especially during this time, take care of themselves. So getting out and walking in the park, making sure that you get exercise, getting downtime, getting quiet time, taking care of yourself to be able to not burn out is absolutely critical. The other thing that I would say, and I really learned this, or I would say relearned this at the beginning of COVID, and that is that there was no way that I could push the team harder and harder during this period of time. So at first, when we were all locked up at home, I wanted to continue to push the team to do more, go. And at some point, it just doesn't work. The team can't work faster. So pacing is critical, and also taking care of yourself.
Sure. As we discussed at the top, you did announce your retirement kind of amid, this remarkable 2020. I'm just wondering, what role did the COVID experience kind of play in letting you be confident that now is the time?
That's a great question. And as I tell my family and friends and cohorts, there were about 8 things that came together. Don't make me mention all 8 because I won't be able to remember them, but personally and professionally, that made me realize that it was the right time. And professionally, one of my biggest roles in Ankarum, when we joined 2.5 years ago, was to prepare the next generation of leaders. And as I looked and watched the leadership team that I worked with over the last 6-7 months, I realized that they were ready. They were absolutely ready. And that was exciting and scary at the same time. But that was one of the big factors from a professional standpoint, that I felt like I had done my job. And it was almost like mom needed to move out of the way. The kids had grown up. The kids needed to continue to take the business forward. So I'm very proud about that. And professionally, that was the overriding reason why now. From a personal standpoint, and maybe a little bit humorous, I couldn't imagine putting my black pants on and my fancy jackets on anymore. I loved wearing my blue jeans every day. And I also couldn't fathom being on Zoom all of next year, or at least half of next year. It's exhausting. And so, the team was ready, and it was time for me to move on and find my next opportunity.
Well, let's certainly talk about that, because you are known as in Nashville as much for your involvement around town outside of C3 and Ankara as you were for your day job. So what does retirement look like? What does your next chapter look like now?
I'm not really sure yet. Earlier this year, I began to dream about that because I wanted to make sure that I had some idea of what's next before I took the leap. And I did a little vision board. Anybody who knows me well knows that I doodle and draw when I'm thinking and ideating about work or life. And so I doodled a vision board, and it included a whole lot of things. So I'll tell you some of the things that I'm thinking about, but I'm only 3 weeks in, so I'm kind of taking it slow and enjoying family at the moment. I'd like to do a little more community work. I'm still very involved in the community, particularly the Entrepreneur Center and a few other organizations. So I still have more to give back and make a difference in the community. I will likely do more board work, corporate board work, and likely more exercise and connecting with friends. I've got a little business idea that I'm thinking about, the seeds of, has nothing to do with consulting, and it's not great yet, so I can't tell you about it, but I'm going to play around with that for a little bit and maybe try to think of 2 or 3 things like that where other people could help start a business, and I could be more of an advisor as opposed to working full time. So a few things that I'm thinking about. I just picked up Mahjong too. So a friend of mine taught me Mahjong last week, and I'm digging into that and trying to learn how to play new games. So that's fun.
That is very nice. You made a lot of eyebrows go up a moment ago. Can you give any clues for what this new business might be? What sector it might be in? Anything like that?
The only thing I'll say is that it has to do with the word connect. And my husband actually gave me the idea. And so I started messing around with it and thinking about it as stages. And I do love to connect. I love to connect in the community. I like to connect problems to solutions. I like to connect people to other people. And so it goes along those themes, but we'll see. We'll see if it's hatchable.
Ourselves and certainly many others across town will surely be watching closely, and best of luck on that.
Thank you.
I want to go back and ask for you to put on your kind of C3 Ankura hat for a moment. And I'm curious, what piece of advice did you find yourself giving most frequently that you had just the hardest time taking yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. During the C3 Ankura era or in the last year?
Well, either or, whichever one strikes you immediately.
As we've worked with C-suites, I've always told the CEO when we're working on big strategic planning or other complex problem solving of some sort, I always coach the CEO to sit back and speak last. And that's really hard for me. So that was hard. And then the other piece of advice that I often give CEOs is around not slowing down, but pull your team along with you. Oftentimes CEOs are thinking out into the future, a year, sometimes 2 years, sometimes 3 years, and they've got to pull the team with them. So often I give that advice, and I've been known to cause the team to feel a little stranded every now and then. So I have to take some of my own medicine to pull them through and bring them with me as I'm thinking into the future. So those would be two things.
Thank you. Yeah, those sound a little bit familiar sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
I do want to speak a little bit about the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, the startup environment in town in particular. I'm wondering if you can speak about Music City's kind of startup ecosystem in terms of how healthy were they kind of prior to COVID, and then on the flip side, what pressures are they facing now, and then how confident do you feel about that community's ability to move past and beyond this period?
Yeah, it's great. Well, first of all, we have an amazing entrepreneurial city. We always have. And it's even more and more vibrant today. So certainly pre-COVID, very healthy environment. COVID definitely impacted small businesses as well as large businesses. It has been simply amazing, though, to watch the entrepreneurs at the Entrepreneur Center during this period of time. While it's been very difficult for some and many businesses, entrepreneurial and small business alike, there has been so much new innovation that has come out of the Entrepreneur Center because entrepreneurs are creative. And so we've watched entrepreneurs pivot their businesses to take advantage of this opportunity. We've seen entrepreneurs start up new businesses to take advantage of the new trends and themes that they're seeing with COVID. So the innovation that's happening right now is simply amazing. There are certainly a number of businesses that are struggling. So as the Entrepreneur Center is really the front door for all entrepreneurs that want to start and grow a business, the Entrepreneur Center has expanded during this period of time to not just help those that are starting and innovating, but also helping those small businesses continue to thrive during this difficult period of time. But all in all, I guess I see the positive possibilities in everything, and there's been a tremendous amount of innovation and new businesses starting up for good, which has been great to see.
Now, in Nashville, we have seen just a pretty staggering list of high-profile companies hang a shingle here. Amazon and AllianceBernstein come to mind certainly immediately. And so sometimes I feel like there's been a tendency in the last year or two to not think about or focus on kind of the startup ecosystem as much as Nashville did previously.
Right.
Why is it important that we not, as business leaders, kind of take our eyes off that particular ball?
Really, really good question. I'm glad you asked me that. I think when I think about Nashville's success, we have been able to be successful not only because it's a very entrepreneurial city, but we're a very diverse city. And I'll speak in every way, but certainly from a business perspective, we have significant diversity in our business community today than we did 20, 30 years ago, right? It's critically important, though, to continue to connect, I would say, the large businesses like Amazon, like UBS, Alliance Bernstein, the HCAs, Bridgestones, et cetera, to the entrepreneurial business. Why is that? It creates this flywheel where the big corporations can become more innovative and the smaller businesses can gain clients and customers. And so it creates this virtuous cycle. So I think there's a piece there that if I were looking into the future, my hope is that gets more connected, because that will create more sustainability, not only for entrepreneurial businesses, but also for large enterprises as we all innovate and look towards the future.
I want to shift now to getting your thoughts just on Nashville itself and the future of the challenges we are facing and those types of things. But first, let me look backwards and ask you, what do you think the last big riddle or problem was that we successfully solved as a city?
To what we were just talking about, I think one of the key riddles for the city has been business diversification, and we have been able to attract an amazing set of businesses to Nashville that aren't just healthcare, that aren't just music and entertainment, that aren't just government or university, which we've always had great diversity in. So I think that alone is a riddle and a puzzle that the city has been able to solve and proven that we can attract those amazing businesses. I think if you take that now and you look forward, I think there are new challenges and opportunities, new puzzles to solve. One would be, how do we do that in the right way where it's not just downtown? Secondly, and I think more importantly, it's how do we attract the people rather than the company? There are so many, now that we can work anywhere, there's so many that have begun to move here afresh this year from California, New York, Chicago, DC. And so how do we grow our city like that and have pods of companies here in a different kind of way where perhaps you're not recruiting a business with a high rise, but you're recruiting some real tech savvy pods of leaders and teams that are creative, that are entrepreneurial, that are innovative, that can help our city grow in a different way. I'm not really sure how to solve that puzzle yet, but I think that is a theme that we're all seeing that we should try to take advantage of and take advantage of quickly.
Another thread in that same kind of growth story is this idea that we have seen in the last couple of years some friction and perhaps some kind of divergence in the community. Whereas early on, it was very exciting to see the New York Times declare us its city and that type of thing. And now we've kind of seen the pendulum swing back the other way as we've seen kind of some of the challenges that growth can present. Do you think that dynamic is here to stay? And if it is that a healthy dynamic, or is that a worrisome dynamic, or another way, something that we should keep an eye on?
Well, I am worried about the opposite of growth. And I remember when the chamber did a mission trip to Portland, and Portland, Oregon, for many years didn't want to grow. They'd come visit us, but don't stay. And that can really hurt a city, particularly in this kind of period of time. So one thing for sure is I don't want us to stop growing. And now with the next economy, I think there's a real opportunity to grow in, as I mentioned, in different ways, where it could put less pressure on our city. More people working from home and not all commuting to downtown. So transportation will be different, and the city flow will be very different in the future. So I think the way that we handle growth can be tackled in a different way. So I'm on the team for growth because I think that's absolutely critical for our sustained success as a city.
Do you think that city leaders, whether they're in government or in the business community, do you think that we have to kind of add in this aspect of kind of marketing our growth or the benefits of it to ourselves to get buy-in?
I think that's a great point. And yes, I do think we need to do that. And I think that perhaps needs to be rebranded, right? And it's around smart growth and resilient growth. When we think about this in the future, perhaps a brand around how do we grow in a resilient way and a smart way, and selling that both internally and I think in parallel as we go out to what I was mentioning earlier, which I think is very timely and very urgent for us to begin to market that outside of Nashville. But of course, you're right. We also need to sell ourselves and get aligned around that we still need that resilient growth.
And this same sort of ballpark, what challenge or threat to the city do you think we're not paying enough attention to? Do you think it's kind of still flying under the radar, but we should start elevating?
I guess I would say one of the issues and emerging issues is just continued affordability, for everyone as we continue to grow our city and diversify and move forward, making sure that we have an affordable place for all comes to mind. And that's really important as we have that sustainable growth and sustainable city.
I'm curious, Beth, if how you've described Nashville to others, if you're trying to sell the city to somebody, how that's changed over the last, let's call it 10 years.
How I would describe it today is a very vibrant, creative, alive city with diverse businesses, diverse, smart people, a collaborative, caring community. It has certainly become more creative, more growth oriented over the last, say, 10, 20 years. And I would give much of that credit to the public-private partnership that we've had with the city and the business leaders, and all that has been done around that, from attracting businesses, growing businesses, starting the Entrepreneur Center, bringing in more tech talent. All of that has been a result of that collaborative relationship and partnership. But that's how I would describe it today. And it's definitely been progressively improving over 10 years and over the 30 years that I've been in Nashville.
Beth, I'm also wondering how what has interested you and what's engaged and excited you, how has that changed since 2005 when you started C3?
Oh, that's a great question. When I first started the company, what really interested me was making sure that we had this very special culture in the firm. And I think for the first 2 years, in fact, I was very intentional about it. And I actually naively said one day to one of my business partners, is there such a thing as a perfect culture? Because it feels so right, And then I realized there's a double-edged sword there, of whatever your culture is like, the other side of it can make it difficult or make it not right for others, right? Perfect for some, not right for others. So I think at the beginning, I was really obsessed with culture related to making sure that we had a place that created more meaning than just solving client problems. So I was pretty involved in that. And then over the years, I began to work on that more with clients, which was fun. And then really over, how that shifted over the sort of the last period of time with C3 and into Ankara has really been about developing leaders. I mean, the whole 15 years was about developing leaders, at every level in the organization. And that has been my proudest accomplishment and I think legacy. But certainly over the last 5 years, really propping up the leaders and getting out of the way. And so that too is culture, though, if you think about it, by delegating, empowering, developing, supporting leaders and making sure they're aligned, you're perpetuating a culture. So it just shifted perhaps in the activities that I did.
I don't know that I need to ask after an answer like that, but I will anyways. What are you proudest of from your time at C3 and Anchor?
I think it was both of those things. We created, and of course I'm a proud parent, right? I can say this, but we created an amazing culture and hired the very, very best people. And I had a long time ago decided that I wanted to work around smart and happy people, and I think we gathered up 120 of them and had a blast doing that in such a collaborative, caring way. So that plus creating the next generation of leaders has just been it's been a great ride in both of those regards. Something that I'll be forever grateful for is that I had the opportunity, and we had the opportunity to work with amazing leaders around this city. And I'm forever grateful for that. And as I look back over my career working with so many great name brand companies in Nashville and successful role model leaders that I learned so much from, that helped me be a better leader, I'm just very, very grateful to have had that experience.
Well, Beth, before we let you go, we are firmly now in the holiday season. So let me ask you, could I be so bold as to ask for your New Year's resolution?
Oh, gosh. Well, let's see. I definitely have a long list of things I want to do in retirement, and one of them is to work out every day. And I know that would be a lot to make as a New Year's resolution, but it's on my list of things to just incorporate into sort of the rest of my life, be active every day. So I'll just say that's going to start now and not in January. Maybe that's less intimidating.
Well, in that and in all of your endeavors next year and beyond, Beth, wish you nothing but success. And again, congratulations, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Eric.
Back to you, Lori.
Thank you so much, Beth. Congratulations again, and I look forward to seeing what you might do next. I'd also like to offer another congratulations to all of today's honorees. You are making a real difference in Nashville business. Thank you again to gold sponsors Giratana and Stites & Harbison. And thank you to our video partner KGV Studios and gift sponsor Implement Now. Thank you for joining us to celebrate Nashville's leaders. We hope you have a safe and healthy rest of the year, and we look forward to seeing you again in 2021.